Welcome back to the channel, everyone. How you doing? I just want to say I appreciate you guys being here for just a couple minutes of your day. I appreciate you guys. I finally got a mic. I got a mic. And I'm so happy about it. We are going to do a fall recommendation video. I had this planned out to do a couple weeks ago, and I wrote out a list, and the list is pretty good. It's mostly just a book series. I tried to think about like standalones that I personally like, but truthfully, there's just a lot of series that I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely like fall themed. I actually haven't read enough books to really feel like a fall theme that are just standalones. So I figured this is going to be a little different for me. So we're going to try this out and see how I like it. And maybe next year I'll have more books under my belt that are more fall themed that are standalones. But right now it's a bunch of series, and I do have a couple standalones, but we'll see how it goes for the rest of it. So we're going to knock out the first couple that are, well, the most obvious ones. With both of these that are the most obvious ones, I'm going to try and make it quick for them. But the first one is Harry Potter. Harry Potter is, I would say, the definition of a fall themed book series. I'm pretty sure all of Harry Potter stuff starts in the school year of fall, and it has that fall feel. I mean, yes, it does Christmas stuff, it does summer, it does spring, it has all of it. Just the majority of the time it's set in the fall. It's always spooky, it's always the fall leaves, just everything about Harry Potter feels like fall. I think that's a really good start for Harry Potter, is like if you want to read a fall, something that feels like a fall book and it has fantasy in it, I would say Harry Potter. I think majority of fantasy books do a pretty good job with the fall feel. So you could get away with reading a lot of fantasy. The next one is actually one of my all-time favorite fantasy books series, but I wouldn't ever put it in my top 10. It would always be an honorable mention because I always feel like it's very predictable to put at your number 1 or your number 2. That's just me. But that is The Lord of the Rings. Now, Lord of the Rings is just a classic. We all know about Lord of the Rings. You know, we all know the lore, the story of Lord of the Rings, but the feeling of being a fall book fits the series as a whole. You know, especially the beginning when the hobbits are in the Shire. I always feel like, man, just out there smoking a pipe, drinking tea, or just getting drunk with the hobbits, and you guys are just chilling, carving pumpkins. I'm sold. That's all you kind of need in Lord of the Rings. I mean, I don't really think too deeply about Lord of the Rings other than that if it was a fall theme thing. And there's a lot to it that is also great with the fall feel of Lord of the Rings. Same thing with Harry Potter. Everyone wears cloaks, which is already what I feel like fall could be, and scarves. That's how I view fall for a lot of things. So this is the last one that is a very predictable one of a series that I've read that I was like, yeah, this is fall. And that's Twilight. I am currently reading all of Twilight. I am on Breaking Dawn, and I have a giant video coming out for the Twilight series soon. But I will say with Twilight, it's literally set basically in September through November. No other time. They've never done anything that involves Christmas. They barely do things in the spring. It's always crappy weather. It's always raining. It's always very dark. And it's literally a great fall book to read. Is the book itself good? No, the series isn't very good. But if you want to read something that has those feels, like the supernatural feels with vampires, werewolves, and the dark eeriness of the series, I think Twilight is perfect for it. To me, as a man that's reading it, that's almost 30. Yeah, it's not for me. But, you know, if you're younger and you want to read it, I think you guys should definitely check it out. To me, it's not one of those kind of series. But I think Twilight is an excellent series to read for the thaw. So growing up, I had 2 favorite series. Well, one was one of my all-time favorite book series of all time. Still is. I want to do a reread of it. And the other one, I actually read a couple years ago on a reread, and I really enjoyed it. But I read it a little bit as a kid, and I enjoyed it as well. And they're both essentially the same thing for me, so I'm just going to name them both. The first one is A Series of Unfortunate Events, and the other one is Cirque du Freak. I think that's how you pronounce it. So a series of unfortunate events, you follow 3 orphans through a series of unfortunate events. Their parents die, and this man named Count Olaf is after their money. He is just doing a bunch of things to prevent the children to actually live a nice life, and he's trying to prevent them from living a nice life where they can't really inherit money and they can't actually have parents because of Count Olaf. And Cirque du Freak is a boy named Darren, and he is a half vampire. So, and the rest of the series is about him slowly becoming a vampire, learning all the elements of becoming a vampire. It's just a lot of deep stuff that I actually really like for both elements of them. And they both really give you that feel of fall. And it's weird to think about, but a series of unfortunate events gives you like more of a gothic vibe, I always feel, with it. It's that gothic tone it brings to the table that I actually really like. I never thought I would say it's a gothic tone, but just reading that book, just everything about it, it's very dark and there's a little bit of humor in it. It's always gives you like hope. When I read it, I always enjoyed a series of unfortunate events. And Cirque du Freak's pretty simple. It's circus, it's dark, and it's vampires. That's a very good, easy fall theme. So now I have one more book series to recommend, and then I have two standalones. Well, one is a standalone, the other one is an author's books. So there's that. And the last series is the Dresden Files. Now, I grew up, I remember every day before I would go to school, I'd watch an episode of Angel, Buffy, and it was because it was always on TV before I would wait for the bus. And my mom would always have it on TV, or Charm. I read the series, The Dresden Files, and that is the definition of what those are. The Dresden Files fits that theme so well. You have a character named Harry Dresden who is a wizard, and he's out in the public known as a wizard. And to me, the best way I describe it to a lot of people is it's basically Harry Potter except for adults. Maybe that's a weird way to describe Dresden Files, but that's how I've always thought of the Dresden Files. It's kind of for adults. You have wizards, you have werewolves, vampires, gargoyles, you have everything that's supernatural, and it's always dark and disturbing, and you do get those fall elements with it most of the time. Sometimes he has days where it's set out in the summer, but then most of them are set during the fall time, and he will mention it like about the leaves changing or something about it. But the way when I read the Dresden Files, I truly think, I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. It's just so good. For the standalone books, like I said, I have an author, and then I have one book. And the book itself is Something Wicked This Way Comes from Ray Bradbury. I actually just read it earlier this year, and that book, oh yeah, it takes place in the summertime, but, well, it goes into Halloween time. But oh man, the book, the vibe that Ray Bradbury writes in this book is so good to the point where you want to encapsulate of fall because of it. It's a coming of age story with the vibes of kids being in a fall theme element that I just really like reading, and I just am honestly impressed with how much fun it is. It's a very fun element of fall. The last one is, like I said, it's an author, and I've read a lot of his books, so I guess I just threw him on here. I didn't want to list all of his books, so I'm just gonna say the author, and it's pretty obvious, but I would like to say Stephen King. I think a lot of Stephen King's books are great for the fall. I can name like 10 of them off the top of my head already that's like, oh yeah, this is a fall themed book. I haven't read all of his books yet. I'd like to. I've actually been on a hiatus of reading Stephen King for a while, and I would like to get back on that because Stephen King's the reason why I got into reading anyways and into writing, so I would like to get back on that horse of reading his works. It's been a long time. The last book I read from him was 11/22/63, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, I think it was the JFK book, so it's been a long time, and that was like 4 years ago, so I would like to get back into reading his works. If you guys made it to the end of the video, I do appreciate it. Make sure you guys check out all my socials down below. Let me know what you guys think for some fall recommendations are. I know I probably missed a ton because there's a lot of books that have some fall vibes, but I was just sitting back thinking about like the books that I've read and own currently that I'm like, I think this would be great for the fall season. And if you guys have some that are probably better than mine, or do you guys disagree with what I'm saying, that's also cool. I'd love to know down below. But of course, make sure you guys stay safe, stay humble, and tell someone you love them. I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay weird.